Well, hello again. I thought I'd do a quick video on this Ariel School incident that happened back in 1994 in Zimbabwe. Apparently, an alien spacecraft landed and some aliens got out and sort of telepathically interacted with the students. Now, personally, I think this is highly unlikely, and I'll suggest a few things that a few down-to-earth explanations for what this may have all been about. Now, I've seen this a few times over the years, and I have to say it's quite interesting. Because when you look at it, and when you look at the children being interviewed by John Mack, a psychiatrist, incidentally, the children seem to be relating an event. Something actually happened, because I don't think school kids would be able to, if they'd have made it up, they'd have been giggling and looking at each other and all that sort of stuff. So I think they believe what they are saying is true. They believe they saw aliens coming, an alien spacecraft, and they saw aliens, and I don't think they're making that up. I think they believe that's what they saw. Now, as alien interaction with school kids is pretty unlikely, I think what they actually did see has a far more down-to-earth explanation. Now, it's curious too that the school kids were originally interviewed by a local UFO researcher called Cynthia Hind, who's since passed on, and in all the statements that she took from the school kids, none of them mentioned this danger to the planet. You've got to look after the planet stuff. There was no ecology stuff in any of the statements. That only appeared 2 months later when John Mack appeared on the scene, and this was a theme that John Mack had supposedly got from many of these UFO contactees, abductees, whatever you want to call them, alleged. People that allegedly interface with aliens stroke UFOs. Now, I think that is quite telling, and I was looking at an article. Well, I'll show you a bit of the article, and this guy thought it was quite telling as well, that what the kids actually said when they were interviewed by John Mack went along with John Mack's narrative of what he usually finds when he talks to people that supposedly interact with aliens. Now, when Cynthia Hind interviewed them shortly after it actually happened, none of them, not one of them, mentioned any of this "we have to look after the planet" stuff. Now, I think it's very unlikely that aliens would come here and talk to school children and give them a message about us looking after the planet. I think they'd be, if they were seriously concerned about us looking after the planet, they'd go and talk to the UN. Now, people like Emlyn-Jones and all the UFO nutters will say, of course they come and talk to school children. They're the future. They'll go out and they'll tell their children, and so it would go on. They'll go out and they'll be these great ecologists and they'll spread the word and look after the planet. Well, I don't think it'd work like that, to be perfectly honest. Has anybody done a follow-up on any of these kids to see if they are ecologists? Are they out there spreading the word that we've got to save the planet? Has it worked? I very much doubt it. It just doesn't work that way. It's not going to work that way. And Ben Emlyn-Jones will say something like, "Oh yes, you're anthropomorphizing, you don't know what aliens would do." Well, as I've said before, aliens, to get here, they're going to have a very good understanding of physics. They're going to be a technologically advanced species. They're going to know, understand and use logic. It would be like us flying to another planet where there's a a technologically advanced civilization. It'd be like Captain Kirk and Spock flying the Enterprise to another planet, and they see the planet's in poor shape, but they don't go and talk to the people that are running the planet. They land in a school playground and tell a bunch of 10-year-olds. It makes no sense. It's not going to make sense. It doesn't make sense to us. It's not going to make sense to any kind of alien species that's capable of flying around the galaxy. It's just nonsense. So let's just have a look at some of this stuff relating to Ariel School.
Time to interviewing the children.
Something scared you, is that right?
Yes.
What scared you?
The noise.
What noise?
The noise that we heard in the air.
You heard a noise in the
Yes.
air? What was it like? Like a roar or a buzz or a hum, or what kind of a noise?
It was like someone was blowing a flute. It was scary myself.
It was scary because you saw something yourself?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a little object hovering. It was quite big actually, and then there was little ones all around it. We saw something silver, and then we quickly ran to the logs, and we saw a silver thing, and we saw a man standing next to it.
And what did it feel like when he was looking at you?
I felt scared.
It felt scared? What was scary about it?
Well, I felt scared because I've never seen such a person like that before.
Did you see the eyes? What did they look like?
They were going like that.
Where was the pointy part? Was the pointy part in here, or was the pointy part out there? Up there. And what was the feeling when you looked at the eyes?
It was scary.
Mm-hmm. And what was scary? Why? What made it scary?
The eyes looked evil.
Evil. Mm-hmm. And what was evil about? Say what you mean by evil.
It looked evil because it was just staring at me.
With what? Staring at you as if what? As if to do what?
As if it wanted to come and take us.
As if it wanted to come and take you. That was the feeling you got? That it wanted you to go with it? Did you feel like you wanted to go with it? No. Did you feel, what was the effect on you when you felt it wanted to have you go with it?
I just walked away and I started crying.
They came round.
So again, if you've got aliens, they've come across the galaxy, they've landed near a school, and they want school kids to go with them. They're just going to pick up the school kids and fly away, aren't they? They're not going to stand there looking at them and wait for them to turn around and either run or walk away. That doesn't make sense, to be honest. If someone was pranking them, wearing a mask. It's interesting as well. Remember what she said about the shape of the eyes? Because there's two other kids that say the eyes were that had the points at the bottom, not at the top. And it could be that they're not actually remembering this incorrectly. It could be that I personally think they were pranked. That the kids that were wearing the alien masks, I can't find the bit where they say that they were expressionless, their mouths didn't move, they were just slits. They're describing masks. It may be that all the masks weren't the same. So they may very well be relating what they consider is a real. They're describing something they've really seen, but it's got nothing whatsoever to do with aliens.
Running up here in such a panic, and I mean, even if we had staged it, they could not have run all together like that. Even if we practiced it, I don't know how many times. But they came up here like a living snake, and they just came.
Yeah, so I think some older kids have got the younger brothers and sisters to put these masks on and these little spacesuit type things, and I think they got a minibus. And I'll show you what I think happened later on, but I think they got a minibus and just disguised it to look like a typical flying saucer, by maybe getting some sheets of cardboard and painting big round circles on them and sticking them over the windows, or cutting circles in them and sticking it. So basically what they're looking at through the scrub, remember, because the scrub is sort of waist high, and they're looking through trees, they're seeing this thing, and they're seeing the row of windows, and the drawings actually show a door as well. So I think some of the teenage kids probably just had a bit of a laugh with them and used their younger brothers and sisters to dress up as aliens and just walk through the scrub. I think that's what's happened here.
We were in a staff meeting and we just heard them scream.
Of course, the kids would think it was all real and they would scream and run, etc., etc.
Screaming, ah, when they were here, and a child can't make that up.
I was very sceptical in the beginning as well. I believed that they'd seen something, but I wasn't prepared to accept that it was anything supernatural or anything like that. But I think the consistency of what's been going on indicates that it was more than I was prepared to admit in the beginning.
So both of them were running. One was running in the trees, and the other one was running across the ship. Because there were also trees here.
The eyes were like more pointed as they came in toward the center of the head, is that?
More circular, and this was all black in here.
All black. Now you've made pupils. Do they actually have pupils or black?
White. The
What?
pupils were white like that.
Were you so white in the center?
Yes, like that.
Was he near the silver eye?
Now, this kid's describing the alien as having pupils. Again, if it was a mask, expressionless, slit for a mouth, covered the ears, and there may very well be two round holes in the middle, so whoever's wearing the mask can actually see where they're going.
Object, or was he far?
No, on top.
On top of the silver object. Okay. And did you look at him?
Yes.
Did he look at you?
Yes, then he gave me the creeps, then I stopped
Gave
looking.
you the creeps. Actually, in your drawing, you showed him standing up, didn't you?
Yes, I had to draw him standing up because I couldn't draw him sitting.
Okay, now this is starting to. You're starting to get what I'm getting at here. For a start, an alien spacecraft is not going to have an antenna on it like that. This is a sort of 1950s flying saucer. Remember this scrub up to here sort of thing? Scrub up to here. I reckon this is going to be a minibus. It's showing a door in it, and the round windows. I think there are more telling drawings by the children that show, I think, pretty conclusively that this thing's a minibus.
What I thought was maybe the world's going to end. Maybe they're telling us the world's going to end.
Why do you think they might want us to be scared?
Because because we don't look after the planet and the area.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see the interviews these kids actually did with Cynthia Hind, because apparently not one of them mentioned any of this look after the planet stuff before John Mack got there.
Properly.
And
This could be an agenda that Mack is pushing, because that's what he believes. He may believe that we're pushing the planet to the towards this great ecological disaster, and he may be trying to get that message out there by doing what he's doing. As I said before, if aliens were seriously concerned about our welfare and the way we're treating the planet, they're not going to talk to 10-year-old kids, 8-year-old kids, whatever these are. They're going to talk to the UN. They're going to talk to CNN, Sky News, BSB. They're going to get the word out there like that. They're not going to talk to a bunch of school kids.
Lily, is this an idea that you have had before, that we don't look after the planet properly in the air, or did this idea come to you when you had this experience?
When had this experience.
And how did that idea come to you from this experience? This is a little hard, but try to be with me here, okay? How did this idea come to you when you had this experience?
I just felt all horrible inside.
You felt horrible. At what point did you feel that? When you saw the craft, or when you got home at night? Or
When I got home,
you had that horrible feeling when you got home?
yes.
And say more about that horrible feeling, Lisa. What was it like?
It was like in the world, all the trees would just go down and there would be no air and people would be dying.
And those thoughts came to you. Had you had those thoughts before this experience?
No.
No. And how did those thoughts come to you? Did they come to you from the craft or from
From the man.
the man? And did the man say those things to you? How did he get that across to you?
Well, he never said anything. It's just that the face is the eyes.
What was the sense you got from those eyes?
So remember, none of these alleged aliens have actually verbally spoken to the kids. You know, people like Ben Jones will say, "Oh yeah, the aliens came down. They spoke to the kids. There was 150 kids. The aliens spoke to them." Well, it turns out there was 62 kids outside. There's only a few of them that are actually telling the tale. And there's no speaking whatsoever going on.
He was interested.
They describe these experiences or these events like a person talks about something that has happened to them. And when you're talking with a psychotic who's telling you something and it's a delusion and you feel that it really didn't happen, I can tell. I mean, I know this is something that person wants me to believe, or they're frightened, or they're distorting reality in some way. There's nothing like that here. These are people of sound mind, by and large, telling me...
Sound mind, by and large. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what happened to the other bit, but there was a bit there where, you know, the kids were talking about the eyes, and I thought two of them said that the points were at the bottom, and one of them said the points were at the top, you know, because they have these sort of elliptical or almond-shaped eyes, and some of them have them, you know, with the points at the top, and others have them with the points at the bottom. Now, it may be that you know, sort of recollection of things does get a bit distorted, especially if they're fearful. But I'd certainly agree that with Mac here that what they're describing is something they believe happened. They're not making it up. They're not fooling around. Okay, but by the same token, I don't think it's an alien spacecraft either. So let's just have a quick look at what do we got here. Let's have a look at some of the drawings the kids did. Okay, so there's one there. Again, it's a minibus, maybe an Airstream. Maybe an Airstream caravan. Alien spacecraft isn't going to have an antenna like this on it. No, it makes no sense whatsoever. It's got a door in it. Let's just have a quick look at. Yeah, these are the sorts of antennas that you get on flying machines. These are designed to go on aircraft, and you see they have an aerofoil section. They're aerodynamic. You don't just have the antenna that's drawn on the kids' flying saucer. You know, these are all antennas that go on aircraft, and they don't look like They look like aerofoils. They don't look like a whip antenna with a little ball on the top that you'd see on a 1950s flying saucer. That's for a start. So that makes me think that someone's got a minibus or something like that. And because you see images of 1950s flying saucers, and they might have a little thing like that with a ball on top or something like that, then that's what they've done to dolly up their minibus to make it look like a UFO. Now this, I think, this is another sketch by one of the kids. Now what do you notice about that? This is another drawing by one of the kids. What stands out like a sore thumb here? Well, the alien spacecraft appears to be below the tree canopy, doesn't it? Yep. As though there's a dirt track here, and as though it's sort of driven along. And then they've just got out and they're walking through the scrub. Kids wearing masks. Older brother's probably driven the car, driven the vehicle. So I think this is what is going on here. There's another drawing from one of the kids. When you got the alien spacecraft below the tree canopy. Below the tree canopy. I think that's pretty telling, personally. Okay, so I'd say that whatever this is, it's driven along a dirt track. It's got the tree canopy above it. It's not an object that's come in and landed. And it's interesting with all the scrub here, of course. If it's a minibus, if it's a minibus, because some of the sketches have got the round portholes. If it's a minibus, the scrub comes up to here, so you're not going to see the wheels, are you? And you get some sheets of cardboard and you paint big black dots on them and you stick them over the windows. You put something like this on the top, and you get your little brothers and sisters and your mates' brothers and sisters just to put on these little things, these little suit things you've made up and wear alien masks just to prank just to scare the hell out of the school kids. I think that's what that's all about. Okay, so was it? Oh yeah, there was a, and also there's this, which I think is. I'll leave a link to this below. And this is from the Skeptical Inquirer. Did 62 children... I'm reading this through the viewfinder, so as usual this is going to sound like I'm completely illiterate, probably. Did 62 children actually see a landed UFO at the Ariel School near Harare, Zimbabwe in 1994? According to many ufologists, they did. And the case has since gone on to become something of a classic. The children were first interviewed by Cynthia Hind, a local UFO investigator and writer. The Harvard psychiatrist and UFO abductionist, Dr. John Mack, visited Zimbabwe 2 months after the incident. So remember Mack's interviewing them 2 months later. And spent 2 days at the school interviewing the children and the school staff. Recently, the French UFO skeptic Gilles Fernandez, who has a PhD in cognitive psychology, reviewed those investigations and interrogations. He built upon the earlier investigations of the case by another French skeptic, Nab Latour, who first successfully de-blurred the placard and busted the Roswell slides last year. Oh, actually, I didn't see that, but I'll take a look at that. Not that I think there's anything to... I'm already convinced there's nothing to Roswell, but I'll look at it out of curiosity. Fernandez noted that it is particularly interesting and telling to see how the protection and ecology of the planet appears in the testimonies of the children when Mac questioned them, while this theme was not present in the narratives collected by Cynthia Hind. Cynthia Hind, remember, the UFO investigator that interviewed them shortly after the incident. I think, as he says, it is particularly telling. This strongly suggests that Mac was leading the children to create narratives matching Mac's own beliefs and concerns. Yeah, and I think this guy's right. I think that's exactly what's happened here. Latour had observed in 2011 that the boy is coaxed to imagine a rationale, then transpose it into the real world in the next question. A manipulation that is hidden by the editing of short sequences in the video. John Mack is caught red-handed, encouraging the child to confabulate, integrate and imagine into reality. More details about this incident and sources are on my Bad UFOs blog at, don't know if that's still there, I haven't looked, but there you go. Fernandez notes that while much research has gone into developing procedures for interviewing children, neither Hind nor Mack use anything resembling proper procedures. Okay, all right. So, and the other thing too is, let's just have a look at Ariel Primary School. Okay. This is the school in question. This is the school in question with the school buildings here. And there's a playing field here. Now this was later cleared to be a new playing field, but it was scrub and trees. And the children saw the aliens coming through the scrub from here. Remember, none of the adults saw the aliens. None of them saw them fly away. And I think if you look at this, you can see that there's a dirt track that drives along here, around the back of it. And I think what happened was the kids were indeed pranked. And I think that, you know, some teenage kids, ones that are old enough to drive anyway, they've got a minibus, they tarted it up to, you know, with bits of cardboard with big red dots on, so to put over the windows so they look like portholes. They put the little stalk on the top of it. Again, ridiculous. You're not going to have that on an alien spacecraft. And I think they drove it in here, maybe a little bit further in, but, you know, maybe parked it on this track. And they walked through here just to scare. They got their younger brothers and sisters to wear the masks and just walk through there and scare the hell out of the kids for a laugh. I think that's what it's all about, and I think that scenario is far more likely than an alien spacecraft coming down. And if this is all full of forest, where exactly would it have landed? Remember the drawings the kids showed? It looked like the spacecraft was below the tree canopy. So this was all trees. This was all trees and scrub. And there's the school buildings, Ariel Primary School. Ariel School Zimbabwe. Teresa Road, Rua. Okay, so, and there it is on Google Earth. Let's just have a look at, if we go back in time, can we go back in time? Let's go back to there and see what it looks like. 2014. Oh, okay. 2014, this is still cleared, but there's a few more trees there. Uh, 2011, let's see, there's a few more trees here between the school and the new playing field. This is the old original playing field. And this is the new playing field that was all scrub. It was cleared so they could put use it as an additional playing field. Oh, and there we go. There's a lot more trees. There's a lot more trees there. The building is exactly the same orientation. There's a lot more trees there now, and now you can see the markings on there where they cleared it to make the new playing field. That's 2009. And again, a lot more trees. There's a lot more trees. But this was all trees along here, and trees and scrub. They cleared it, I think, in the late 90s to make the additional playing field. And as you can see, there's a dirt road there, comes along there. You can drive along the back of it, and I think that's exactly what happened with the Ariel School incident. I don't think there was anything alien involved in it. I think the kids relate the story as though they believe it, because they do believe it. But I don't think they saw aliens. I think they were just pranked by plain old teenagers having a laugh with them, I think, is what happened there. And I think looking at the drawings, it's pretty obvious that it's a minibus or something like that. And the fact that it's a shame, actually. I'll see if I might see if I can find Cynthia Hines' original interviews with the kids. But there was no mention of saving the planet and the ecology until John Mack got there 2 months later. It's like a lot of these UFO ET things, you know, the information gets bent to support the narrative that the person wants to convey. John Mack was heavily into this, you know, the saving the planet. You know, he's an alien. The people that were telling him that they were alien abductees were telling him that the aliens had said we've got to look after the planet. Well, you know, you're not going to go around. You're not going to fly across the galaxy, go around and just tell individuals that you've got to save the planet. You know, if aliens were seriously concerned about us, our welfare, and the way we're treating the planet, they would talk to the UN, they would talk to the Americans, they would talk to the Russians, they would talk to the Chinese. They're not going to talk to a bunch of school kids. They're not going to talk to Bubba the lumberjack. They're not going to talk to Tracy at McDonald's, you know. And that's not anthropomorphizing, because aliens are going to be technologically advanced. They're going to have a good understanding of mathematics. They're going to understand and use logic, just as we do. It would make no more sense to an alien than it would to us. It's nonsense. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I think the Ariel School, although an interesting story, I think has a very down-to-earth explanation. And I think, unfortunately, that's another one we can put a line through. The Ariel Primary School alien interaction, alien landing and interaction is unfortunately absolute rubbish. All right, well, as always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to here, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again.